Hey guys, it's Matt. This is the big comment show from yesterday's video. Of course, it's best if you've watched yesterday's video first. Some good comments like this I will highlight, but I think most comments that I highlight here is probably people that will leave the channel or I'll make enemies with, or they'll take their ball and go home. But I'll highlight some good ones too, like this one from Phuket Truth News. Yo Matt, I cannot believe how many have jumped on the Epstein bandwagon. Me neither. I'm with you, brother. Even those I sub to. What the F? Epstein this, Epstein that, Epstein this. I just clicked on their vids and I hit the pause button and I write, nothing's going to happen. It's all just noise. I agree with you for the most part. In the end, there could be, like we talked about, a 10 or a 20-year plan to have so much faith lost in the leadership. We talked about that in yesterday's video, no reason to rehash. But from this first move of the pawn, or you maybe want to say pizza enemy at the gates, Hut was the first move of the pawn. From this particular event, nothing's going to happen. They might have a few people go to jail to make it look good. Well, they put Steve Bannon in jail a while back for 4 months. He went to his Riviera jail cell, and probably it was one of the scene out of Goodfellas. They brought in lobster and cracked crab, who else? Some of those Trump supporters went to jail, all to make it look good. They might do something like that from this Epstein nonsense, but for the most part, it's just the first step. It is, at this moment, in terms of what's going to happen just from Epstein, this person is exactly right. You know what's going to happen? Nothing, honey. Here's another good comment that could inspire like a whole hour-long video, but we need to move on. The Epstein revelation is a demoralizing tactic and another brick in the eventual narrative wall of reasons why the U.S. collapsed. He has it in the past tense. Isn't that interesting? Open borders, corrupt, inept leaders, etc. The new plan is in place or already in place. Absolutely. This person knows what the heck they're talking about. We're kept in the dark, waiting to be led. The biggest threat to the enemy is to pay it no attention. Okay, absolutely. If there is a 20 or 30-year plan in place, or even more accelerated than that, to take down the U.S., which will lead to the necessary one world system, because you can't have a vacuum like the U.S. leaving the one world system, and the U.S. dollar is no longer there, and the one world system will have to be put in place quickly. If that's all part of the plan, then they do want the rest of the world saying the U.S. did it to themselves. And the rest of the world will say, look at the leadership, look at the perverted debauchery, the corruption. The Epstein file showed us how perverted and horrible these people are. It's okay that the U.S. is being taken down, or as this person already has it happening in the past, because look at the disgusting nature of their leadership. Absolutely, this is a narrative that would support the eventual or planned takedown of the U.S. to implement the one world system. Man, we're starting off good with these comments. Here's another good one at the top. It reminds me of the lone scum character. That's Elon Musk to you and me. Impossibly running 8 globally leading companies at the same time. 8 mega companies. He doesn't even know where the bathroom is for most of those companies. This other Steiner clown could in no way be involved running all these nefarious operations at the same time. Exactly. That's why I got into the fake world conversation yesterday, and I did talk about the impossible number of people, the tens of thousands that would need to be involved, and the hundreds of millions of links over 20 years, and how impossible the scope of this is. But this is something I should have talked about. This says it better than I did yesterday, because just the simple fact of just the number of people that he supposedly knew. He had the phone number for Donald Trump, and he had the email address for this celebrity, and the number of people that he knew that worked kind of through him, it's ridiculous. First and foremost, he's kind of a nobody. It's not like George Clooney or somebody with Brad Pitt. Oh, Brad Pitt's on the phone. Are you going to take the call? Oh, I'll take the call. I'm just pulling names out of my ass. He's kind of a nobody. Reminds me, what just popped into my head? The Live Aid coordination. Supposedly by this loser, Bob Geldof, right? The Boomtown Rats. Tell me why I don't like Mondays. Bob Geldof. See, that's why Bob Geldof is probably connected to the highest levels of Knot-Nilk or the bloodlines or whatever you want to call it as a conspiracy researcher. If it was just Bob Geldof, he'd call Phil Collins and he'd say, who? Who's on the fucking phone? Bob who? The Boomtown what? Oh, I remember. Tell that fuck to go away. All these famous artists, Freddie Mercury, whatever, he wouldn't be able to coordinate Live Aid. He's a fucking nobody. Who's on the phone? Jeffrey Epstein? Who? Is it a solicitation for like a magazine or something? Tell that fuck to fuck off. No, he wouldn't have been able to coordinate anything. It's absurd. He's a relative nobody. I should have stressed this yesterday. Thank you, Peace Dragon. Now, Lars, I'm going to read your comment, but you have to take this the right way. Everybody so often has to take one for the team in terms of me criticizing their comment. I can't constantly be nice. Nobody wants to hear me say, Lars, I know you did a good job with this comment, and I know you're one of us, Lars, but here's what I think, Lars. Nobody wants to hear that. They'd rather hear me rip into it. Sorry. Take one for the team. He says, yes, but pedo people, psychopaths, and sadists are real in this world. Well, yeah, they are real in this world. One has nothing to do with the other. The Epstein charade has nothing to do with real sickos exist. Okay, we all admit, of course. Nobody in the right... Well, Matt, you don't have to be that condescending either. Well, I kind of do for the entertainment value. Nobody in the right mind would view this as being a learning experience. Oh, no. This is a 2-hour sidebar talking about the nature of reality itself. And if we agreed to incarnate, go back to Saturday's video to answer this. Nobody in the right mind would view this as a learning experience. Lars, let me ask you a question. Did you learn anything today or this week or this month? Did you learn anything about yourself, about the nature of relationships, about how people can act in a certain way, about anything? You did? But it can't be a learning experience. But you learned today, you learned this week, you learned this month about yourself, about all sorts of things. But I think he's saying nobody could view this as being a learning experience because there's so much horrible, disgusting trauma. That's where he's going, of course. So let's be fair. Matt, it's not plural here, it's you. So, of course, OFC, Lars, this isn't a text message. We write things out here, and many of us are over 50. We don't know I had to look it up. What the fuck's OFC? This isn't a text message, sir. This is a comment. Type it out. Are you that busy? You got to rush back into the bathroom? You got a stack of magazines? So, OFC, of course, everyone reacts. Everybody wants it exposed, and the perpetrators hunted down. What? So... what's going on? You think what's going on with the Epstein files is good people trying to root out bad people? That's really? Oh, I don't even know how to react to this. You think this Epstein file thing is good reporters actually trying to bring bad people down? Or is this all new to you that there's this thing here called Not Milk that controls everything, that controls Hollywood, the media, everything you see on the news, everything you read in a newspaper? Is this new to you? It's just good people trying to get the bad guys? What? Oh, okay. Lars, thanks for taking one for the team. Let's take a short respite from the comments to look at this very important news headline from CNN. We have a new name for this lowly entity. We have a new name, the Stalled Century Queen. How many times is this thing going to come around and going to pop its head out from a stalactite and get in our face? It shouldn't. How old is this entity? I know it's ancient. It's ancient evil, trillions of years old, probably. But in terms of the body or the host that it's currently occupying, how old is it? Won't it just go away? Just go away. It's the Stalled Century Queen. The headline says, actually, we should give it some props because its last name, as well as Bill and Hillary, they inspired the inverse, which we call Not Milk. Hillary Clinton accuses Trump administration of a cover-up over Couldn't you think of a more creative headline than that? The bottom is why I'm showing it to you. Clinton, everyone should testify in probe. Everyone should testify. Matt, does that mean they could drag this out for 5 to 10 more years with endless congressional hearings and then trials and jail? And we're going to hear about this for up to 10 more years? Probably 20. Yeah. Clinton, everyone should testify, and that's going to take fucking years. Don't worry, Myrtle Tree. It's going to be fine. I'll be kind. Your comment can help us learn and collectively move forward. We'll take it section by section. I removed the word if here. I had to redo this because it threw me off, but I think it was not meant to be there. I keep seeing Epstein links and headlines everywhere, but I never seem to notice any direct outcomes from the big revelation. Exactly. In terms of any specific event on its own, there are almost never any real outcomes. Remember the Anthony Weiner stuff, or was that related to the Hillary Clinton laptop that she hid in the closet? 33,000 emails and all the Anthony Weiner. What was he taking pictures of his wiener? So all that stuff. That's just one example. What came out of it? Nothing. Absolutely. Oh, maybe token stuff. Don't say if Anthony Weiner went to jail. I don't even know. It's like I said, Steve Bannon went to jail for 4 months. But they have to do some token stuff to make it look good. What ultimately happens? What changes? Nothing. It's all a show. So I'm skipping the next sentence. I hear there is evidence of politicians and celebrities harming children and doing bad things. Okay, let me back up. Do these sorts of people, are they engaged in that sick stuff? Yes, of course they are. Okay, Matt, don't keep saying that and apologizing all the time. But in terms of this particular story that's so massive, it could be 100% a fabrication. Okay, this could be a 100%, somebody commented, Eminence Front. It's a put on. Yes, over here they do that sick stuff, but that doesn't mean anything happened over here in what you call the Epstein files. First and foremost, it must be kept on the table that this is 100% a fabrication. Okay. In terms of, did Anthony Weiner do any of that stuff? Did any of the remember Obama and the Podesta files? And there were the code word, Matt, and you have a hot dog and pizza. I mean, that's from the enemy at the gates hut. That was a code word for bringing in young kids. I mean, come on. Because people call that out as bullcrap, then the truthers like somehow blur them together and say, oh, you don't want to protect the children? One has nothing to do with the other. Yes, over here, bad things are happening, but this story over here is made up. Well, Matt, why would they want to call attention to themselves? Well, watch yesterday's video. We talked about that. It says, continuing, I know he was an evil person involved in all kinds of evil acts. We don't know anything about him. He could be an AI character as far as we know. I mean, probably not. Enough people passed in his direction or stood downwind from his BO where he probably existed. This is a character actor in a not-known script. There's no evidence of anything here. It could all be a bullshit and Eminence Front. It's a put on. You can't jump to that conclusion. It's much best to say it's just bullcrap. Okay, I know he was involved in this. I know he was involved in that. It just feels like more documentation of what we already know. Exactly. It builds its narrative over decades to ultimately make major changes, but down the road, major changes in what you call leadership, etc. I told you my ultimate outcome as to what is happening here right now is pretty lame. I only haven't thought it through yet. I'm not ready to think it through even now. I also feel for the victims who have to see his ugly mug. We don't even know. We don't know there are any victims. Okay, about this case. If you think they're victims and then you're taking what the news is giving you, like I said yesterday, at face value, believing what's coming in through the news. You can't. You just can't. And the people that, again, the defenders and the truth, they get upset at me. Like, well, Matt, well, you don't think they harm children? One has nothing to do with the other. Yes, they are being harmed, but it's actually drawing attention away from the real harm. But because I say nothing might be happening over here, people jump to this conclusion. They say, Matt thinks that the elite of this world are not involved in anything that harms children. They merge them together somehow. It's totally bizarre. It's happening, but maybe not over here. There are reasons they pull this bait and switch stuff. Okay, you can't say he has a sadistic. We don't know. Jeffrey is a character actor. I mean, you think he really did what he did to himself? He did something to himself, right? He ordered an Uber Eats, and then he said, I'm going to do this to myself in a cell after I eat my Uber Eats. He had a last meal. It was some double quarter pounder with cheese or something. And then you think that really happened in the cell? I don't think so. This person's real. And Dave, three words, and I already gave it away. David Bowie Island. Now, I sat here for 30 seconds to come up with a better example of, quote, nothing ever happens, end quote. And this is about the best example of all time. Sean Diddy Combs sentenced to 50 month. 50 month in prison after all that. Remember a year and a half ago, it was on every day and all these files and the celebrities were running for cover and say, I went to a Diddy party once. I hope my name's not mentioned. And, those that aren't completely in on the act. Those that were kept on the outside were running for cover. This is literally like a mini little Epstein files. In fact, the AI and the Chat GPT may have used this event actually to learn how to present the Epstein stuff that's going on now. I'm not even kidding. It's very similar because if you were a celebrity and you went to a Diddy party, again, if you're on the outside believing all this is real, you then, I hope my name doesn't come up. And a big part of this was who came and went. excuse me, who are the famous names that are associated with the Diddy party, just like what's happening now with Epstein. And at the end of the day, what happened? All those celebrities, I hope this. What happened at the end of the day? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Just the one man that played the role. You, Sean Puff Diddy, Combs Daddy, Puff Daddy, whatever your name is, you served your master well, and you will be rewarded. He went off to 50 months in prison. Again, probably like, not just as bad as the Goodfellas. He probably on a private island. They're saying he's in prison. They'd say, Mr. Puff Diddy, this is Coleman. And do you want the crack crab or the lobster? And he said, can't we have both? Very good, Mr. Coleman and Mr. Puff Diddy. And they give him both, lobster and cracked crab. He served his master well, and now he's being rewarded. And this nonsense here is a little bit different. If you're long-haul trucking, don't look down. It's that stupid Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. Remember that? Would it dominate the news for 4, 6, 8 weeks? It was on TV every day. I mean, this stuff happens. It's the biggest story of all time. Maybe this isn't the greatest example because it wasn't criminal per se, but nothing happens. I went to look it up. Johnny Depp mostly won. He got $10 million. $10 million? I mean, you don't think she can just pull a checkbook out and just write a check? Here you go, Johnny. Assuming any of it's real. All of it. Johnny Depp, Amber Heard could have been a complete and utter fabrication. Simply asking them to play this role as if they're taking on the next movie. Treating it like the next movie. Of course, that's probably all it was. I'm just assuming it's real. Why not? Does it matter? She just wrote a check for $10 million. You don't think she can do that in 2 seconds? Take it out of petty cash? He could do the same? Another example, maybe this isn't the greatest example of, after all this, what ends up happening? Nothing. Marpleka writes, I don't understand what to think about it, the Epstein files. According to these files, a Rothensteiner Steiner grandchild stated that Adolf Hitler survived to, I guess, through various generations, and now through Epstein. Look, first off, nothing would surprise us at this point if one of the hidden files of the millions of pages or whatever they tried to link, the leader of Germany to Epstein and through somebody's child and somebody's grandchild. I mean, nothing would surprise. They could make Boys from Brazil Part 2, and there doesn't have to be little Adolf clones bought from the movie Boys from Brazil. The kid that played the little Adolf clones in the movie Boys of Brazil, one of the greatest child acting jobs of all time. What a great part that makes that movie. Where without that, it really wouldn't be much. Sorry for the sidebar. I don't understand what to think about it. Very simple, Marpleka. Don't get in the weeds. That every time, remember, go up to 80,000 feet. Get in your hot air balloon. It's just one of 1,000 bullshit not milk presentations. Not to get anything out of the particular event that's going on now, but to set up the conditions or the scenario for what it wants 10 or 15 years from now. That is the best takeaway from all of this. Don't ever try to understand it for what it is between its bookends. Think that it is just one pawn move into a new square on a much larger chessboard. Okay, it's the only way to analyze any of these things. But what is everybody doing? Getting in the weeds on each particular event, which really is the height of ignorance. Here's a comment we need to look at. Thank you, Lisa. But I think all this shit coming out is actually bringing people closer to God. 95% of people will choose God over evil. Why would not Nulk be doing this? That last part, something we've been asking ourselves for a long time until we truly start to understand what we're up against here and what its true motivations are. Many things it does or has done over the years at first glance didn't seem to make sense. But once it all plays out and knowing what not Nulk is, it does make sense. The first thing I thought of when I read your comment was that famous quote attributed to Ben Franklin, people choosing security over freedom, and then they deserve neither, something along those lines. It relates to that, in my opinion. I don't think it may bring some people closer to God, but the not Nulk, if it loses 5% to God, I don't think it cares about that. It knows deep down people will crave security. security from a very nefarious or sick group that is now revealing itself to be in control. Well, we've seen that in these communities for 20 years, but most people on the street, this is all new to them, that there could be so many weird, sick, demented, and deranged individuals in different positions of power. So ultimately, will this let them choose security over freedom? Again, like, I'm sorry to go back to the same lame possibility, an AI governance or something like that. I guess I should have thought it through, because this keeps coming up over and over again. Because if it loses 5% to God or to spiritualism, so be it. Something like this can be used by the Notnuk to have people choose or run back to a security blanket of some kind. We didn't realize those in control are so sick. So what can we do? One world government, whatever it may be, to fix the problem. And then, of course, what will it do? It will take more freedoms. It will put in more controls, more statutes, ordinance, code, regulation. It's always asking people, and it's a master at getting people to trade freedom for security, because whatever they pose a security threat, of course, going back to 2001 and everything else, is completely, for the most part, made up bullshit. And the people, because the made up bullshit is put in front of them, they give up their freedom to have the security, when it was, the whole thing was Hegelian, or what the truth community calls Hegelian dialectic. The whole thing was created and managed by Notnuk to begin with. There's millions of examples, right back to why every email needs to be read and collected up, and phone calls need to be collected up, and why there's a security camera on every block in every major city. Well, Matt, if it leads to just one life being saved, we're okay with all this invasion of privacy. It's that mindset that it's put the people into. Misery Channel, is this for real? Are you the only person that didn't know what I meant yesterday, or are you just trying to troll me? AI is incorruptible, Matt? Really? Seriously? AI is programmed, coded by people. Enough said. Again, it was very clear that I was speaking on behalf of the masses, on behalf of the great unwashed, the proletariats, the masses, the asses, and idiots, when AI could be seen as an incorruptible solution to leadership over these sickos that are being exposed in the Epstein files. Do you think I believe that? You think, you think I believe AI is incorruptible? Everybody knows I was speaking on behalf of how the masses will interpret it. Oh my God, I can't believe I have to address this stuff. Okay, let's go over here to this comment. Part of it's very true, but part of it's just plain wrong. Technocracy, saying technocracy is coming, Matt. Technocrats hate politicians. We'll get to that. Politicians are about to get thrown under the bus. Bankers/technocrats in control. Well, per that last, first it's a Pootie Tang award. Of course, the bankers have always been in control, and no one else has ever been in control, but as a servant on the org chart of Notnuk, the frequency. But we'll talk about that some other time. Just at ground level here, bankers have always been in control, always. Even over the kings and queens. Truth drops in Game of Thrones. All the kings went to the banking guild. They showed you in Game of Thrones, the banking guild was in charge of everything over King's Landing and everything else. There's a whole episode about that. But anyway, we don't need to see Game of Thrones to know that, do we, Matt? Of course, the new technocrats will just be the bankers, of course. I mean, that's Pootie Tang Award. But you're right. But politicians are about to get thrown under the bus. Well, we know that, of course, from the Epstein files and many other things, all the scandals that have been going on for 20 years. But technocrats hate politicians? What? The politicians are the lowest of the low puppets. A technocrat or a banker would only hate something it has a rivalry with, something it has on equal standing, something it considers a legitimate rival or on par with itself. Politicians are the lowest of the low. Remember in Sound of Music, they go, ole, ole, that puppet show, ole, 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 da, 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 to the lowly goat. That's a politician. At the end of the string, ole, 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 that's a politician. So the technocrats and the bankers that have controlled everything for thousands of years hate those that serve it. That would be like the CEO of Coke saying, I hate the drivers that deliver the Coca-Cola cans. One's really, really low. You've got to be kidding me, sir. This was a very interesting comment. I'm starting on the second line down. I know it's very small. I'll read it to you. Keep your eyes on the road. I guess my only input would be that it may be good now that the normies, people down the road, are talking about the elite and those in control being degenerate and perverse and all the sick things they're doing. He's saying, from the not milk's perspective, it may be good that now everybody's talking about it, not just people like us, conspiracy people. He said maybe it's good because the masses may, from the not milk's perspective, the masses may well just do as they do and emulate the degeneracy. Very, very interesting here. Think 90s suburb white kid seeing a rap video and then wanting to fake it to make it. I'm adding some things. Trying to be like the degeneracy they see on the screen. Middle class teen ruining his hand-me-down Honda, tricking it out after watching The Fast and the Furious. Emulation. This is very interesting. Like every woman acting out the same porn star script while being intimate. I've never had that happen. Have you guys had that happen? Thanks a lot. The majority always mimic and emulate what they're led to believe what the rich and powerful do. That's the key. Remember the comment a few back that said, this is so degenerate, this is so horrible, people will turn to God. You know what? Some people, the pure person or maybe the real person, it knows very few will do what you will turn to God. When you see this perversion and degeneracy, someone like you from a comment back or a few comments back will turn to God. But is everybody like you? This is more correct. They may emulate it. This is more correct. People, the people are gone, whether they're NPCs or they're not real spiritual beings. I agree with this comment. They're more apt to emulate what they look up to their leaders. They look up to the rich and powerful. I want to be like Mike. They want to be like Lone Scum. They want, and then it's okay for them to do it. And look, this will clear in 5 years, whatever. No, one or two people will go to jail for just a few months here or there. Or, they'll make it look good with a few things. But for the most part, nothing will happen based on all the degeneracy. And I think more people are apt to emulate it, like he's saying here, than to turn to God. That only a certain type of person is going to do that. Are most people like you? Another aspect is the normalization of it. Takes what's left of society at this point and lowers it a rung or two. Yeah, it's always being lowered. The movies are always getting worse. Everything is getting worse than what it was. The Grammy Awards is degeneracy compared to what it was 25 years ago. Everything is the new Echo Chamberlain video. Everything is the worst version of itself. Echo Chamberlain has a very funny video, which has a very hilarious part about Billie Eilish or whatever. But the point of the Echo Chamberlain video, he's mostly a movie reviewer. He's saying, what are the chances that, and he's not a conspiracy person, unfortunately, but what are the chances that everything presented in society is the lowest version of itself, whether it's existed 30 years or 50 years, it's the lowest form, whether it be the new Star Trek, Starfleet Academy, or what this genre of music is. Everything is its lowest version. So here we go, Epstein files following along. Those in control, corporate CEOs, politicians, people connect, the lowest form. It just keeps pushing the bar lower and lower. It's not going to turn most people to God. This is more accurate. The majority always mimic and emulate what they're led to believe their heroes are doing. And then you have the normalization of it, lowering the rung, like we talked about, last sentence. Think about Billy Not Milk, Bill Clinton, and his cigar. How many guys from teens in high school to middle-aged chaps thought what he did was cool? And they I'll just skip the last part. They acted out the Bill Clinton cigar scenario with their girlfriend. A lot probably did. Now, there's probably truth in, some people will just turn away or turn to God. And then, but most people are gone. This is more likely what they're going to do. By the way, there's so many comments that are great comments that I'm not going to get to. This is one of the best comment videos, my last video that I've ever seen. Everybody really has some great things to add. There's only a few things that I want to call out or take issue with. Most comments really help us in our understanding. Thank you to everybody that commented in the last video. Oh man, this is too good not to become a permanent part of the hobo code. How do we miss this? This is too good. A PDF file, which originally came from Adobe Acrobat, whatever. What's an Acrobat? But everybody knows what a PDF file is, of course. But what does it sound like? Send me a PDF. Matt, you don't think originally that's why the Not Milk actually used this? They're capable of it. Those that know Not Milk, they're capable of it. It's so close. A PDF file. A pedo. Yeah, okay. And if this is used correctly and we throw in the word Adobe Acrobat a few times, I won't get a banner ad under the video and it won't be blocked worldwide. Thanks a lot. This is a good comment here. I'm showing you the whole thing if you want to go through it, but I'm going to skip and go right to the bottom. In terms of the number of things that would need to happen associated with this creepy individual per day. Oh, sure. Nearly 1,000 things a day, every single day for 20 years. For them to, in terms of what they're presenting, 6 million documents, and there's 1,000 videos, and there's this, and there's that, all 6 million documents, all related to this relative nobody, and all his creepy, he says, kinky, pervert friends. Impossible, of course. I mean, everybody, no matter how low their Forrest Gump intelligence, should be able to see right through this. Even if they don't interpret it like what is Not Milk up to as we do, they should at least, just like I mentioned yesterday with Uncle Joe shoving the mashed potatoes and gravy in his mouth, everybody should be able to see that there's just something wrong with what's being presented on the news. It was every single day, 1,000 things that went back and forth related to this one guy. I mean, you know what? He might know, if anything were real, this guy Epstein, he might know 20 important people, not thousands. He might associate personally with 5 or 7 or 8. I mean, it's not even worth talking about. So thank you for doing the math, which I didn't think to do. Now, at first, it seems like this comment here is trying to qualify for a Pootie Tang award. But what Catherine's written here is so correct, so appropriate to the subject matter, even if the old guard's known this for 20 years, it has to be said, and we have to remind ourselves of this. So no Pootie Tang award here. Keep trying, Catherine. Maybe we can award you one in the future. But it says, what if part of the point is to make people feel smaller and helpless? After getting all wound up here, and then no one is held accountable. Just like we said, what's going to happen? Nuttin', honey. It wants humans to feel helpless. Well, absolutely. This is one of the major goals of Not Milk, to implement its strategy. That's why it tells us to run this thing called Earth in the middle of nothing, and why it says you came from Monkey Man. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But this is so appropriate for the subject matter. It's just not going to get the Pootie Tang Award at this time. Of course, it's just like Diddy and everything we've talked about. All this stuff, and oh boy, we're finally going to send him off to jail, and we're going to march the Hillary Clintons off to prison, and finally people are going to be held accountable, and finally people are going to go to jail and tell me dresses like a gigolo, and they're going to get theirs, and then you know what'll happen? Absolutely nothing. And then people will feel even more helpless. That is absolutely correct. Thank you, Catherine. I think AJ's comment here is very similar to Catherine's, vying for a Pootie Tang Award. But again, it's just too good and too appropriate for what we're talking about, that we can use it to bring some of the 5th grade truthers that are here a little bit closer to graduation. It's a great teaching comment. Matt, we all know whenever they do something, it's a multi-pronged event with all sorts of tertiary Not Milk benefits. Yes. There's the face value for the proletariat and the masses and the asses, and then the 2, 3, 4 different levels of things they're actually trying to accomplish. Maybe not immediately, but 10 or 15 years down the road. Yes. There is something to be said about the Hegelian dialectic with crushed ice. You got the crushed ice reference. I forgot about that. I'm going to use that. Thanks, AJ. There's something to be said about the Hegelian dialectic in analyzing the Not Milk. They, or it, definitely use that stratagem to inch closer to what it's after. But what is that? A lot of component parts to get to. But AJ, I'm going to have to issue you the Pootie Tang Award. There's something to be said about the Hegelian dialectic. Well, it's all it does is use the Hegelian dialectic. And as the truthers interpret it, problem, reaction, solution. Not what Hegel intended initially with, was it thesis, antithesis, or antithesis, and synthesis. Problem, reaction, solution is the false Hegelian dialectic. It's not even what Hegel intended, but it's correct in how the truther analyzes the Not Milk. But if you're saying there's something to be said, AJ, that's all it does. That's all it does. Let's say you got a girlfriend. Every Saturday night she go in the corner. Every Saturday and Sunday night she go to the corner. She come back with a big wad of cash and she's real tired. Big wad of cash, bruised and tired. And you say, there's something to be said about what my neighbor said, that you might be a prostitute. Something to be said. That's all she does. That's all it does, of course. So just suck it up. You get the Pootie Tang Award. Of course, problem, reaction, solution. Every single problem in this world it has created in its bullshit solution to make itself more powerful and to take your rights away and to put you more into a cage. Of course, it's everything it does is in terms of that context. But what is it after? And this last part of your comment here is a great opportunity to remind the spitballers in the back or any of the 1st through 5th grade truthers that wander in here what's truly important. What is it after? It's the same sentence every single time for thousands of years. It wants the real spiritual being distracted throughout its entire life. So number 1, it doesn't realize what it truly is. It thinks it's the body and its material rewards or things of the body, of the flesh, of the straw man, name in all caps, is what's important in life. To distract it from getting in touch with why it came here, why it incarnated, what the spiritual side of it needs from the incarnation. What is it after? It's after the same sentence every single time for 10,000 years. That's why when somebody comments, it's like, they want to put a pipeline in, Matt, they want the cash. It's never about cash. It's never about a pipeline. AJ, look, I agree with almost your entire comment here. It's very good. Thank you for this. You get the Pootie Tang Award, but suck it up. And we just used your comment to move hundreds of 1st grade truthers closer to 6th, 7th grade, middle school graduation. What is it after? It's as simple as it's a spiritual adversary. It doesn't care one bit other than reminding all of the real spirits here that it's nothing more than the physical. That it is Monkey Man, that you should bow down before Neil of the Grass-Fed and just accept you're on some planet in the middle of the Sagittarius system and you came from Big Wang. The Somebody's Grandmother channel comment here is worth reading. It's similar to AJ's regarding problem, reaction, solution, and Hegelian dialectic, but it's said so simply it needs to be read here. Maybe we'll end here. The Epstein charade is to create such hate for the American government, and I will add to create hate and ire for all those in control across the board. That's what this Epstein files is not trying to take down in one single blow, but is the first pawn or second pawn in building a case against all that people perceive who are in control, from politicians to billionaires, etc., those that run corporations, to create such hate in this group that then bringing in whatever they want to do, here the NWO, making the changes that they want to make in the future will go more smoothly. Sure, it's just what AJ said. It's just classic. What the truther interprets as problem, reaction, solution. I'd have no problem slapping the term Hegelian dialectic on it. But I've looked at it closely. What Hegel meant is a bit different, but who cares? I don't care what that little slime Hegel meant. I like the truther interpretation of problem, reaction, solution. Because it creates the problem. Okay, the problem being created is not that it's the PDF files. It didn't just come up with that in the last 10 years. It's always been going on. But the problem being created in the perception of the masses now is the exposing of the PDF files. There's got to be a Julian Assange connection here too, but I'm losing it a bit. I'm not prepared to talk about it. There's a connection with what was that guy that had the exposed the Snowden files. All this is related. What it does, and I think Not-Nook is more of a frequency, not a bad guy in a back room or a boss level, but we'll table that for another time. What it does is it wants something 20 years from now, or 30 years from now, or 40 years from now, and with its AI tools and whatever, its ability to hit the nail on the head in terms of when it will be able to achieve certain goals with the proletariat and the masses. Probably the prediction's probably very accurate, within 2 standard deviations now, with all the tools that it has available. It wants a certain outcome. Then how does it slowly turn the Titanic to get what it wants? And what it wants, again, is always the same thing, to put the human or the real spiritual being into a lower position. If somebody accepts the brain chip or steps into a digital world, then I don't think they'll be very effective at working on their spiritual self and giving their spiritual whole what they need from this incarnation, right? I mean, there's a lot of different ways it's working on the real spirit and attacking from all angles. But it has an outcome, And this is just one half inning of a long baseball game from its perspective. It's just one or two moves of the chess pieces. It's a long chess game from its perspective. Nothing's going to come out of this for the most part. Again, they might make it look good. A few people could go to jail, but for how big this is, how big it is on a scale of 1 to 100 is close to 100 in terms of what you expect to come out of it, in terms of how big it is and how massive the presentation is, and who should pay for all this debauchery and who should go to jail. That will just be like a 1 out of 10, or a 1 out of 100, or a 5 out of 100. It's just Diddy, and it's all the same. Just think of it as one or two small moves of the chess board. What it wants, the outcome's 20, 30, 40 years away. And the outcome, when the dust settles, of course, the human that is, again, this real spirit inhabiting the avatar body, once the dust settles, will have then a harder time doing what it's supposed to do here on earth for its spiritual self. Most people will be put it into a more a retarded position, which is per the definition of retarded. They will be in a retarded position to achieve their spiritual aims and goals. Can it Horcrux somebody off in one fell swoop? I don't know. But what it does is the same sentence every single time. Thanks for being here.